All right, welcome everybody. We'll just give everybody a chance to cross over from one stream to the other. So we'll just kind of hang out for a couple of minutes here. Hey, Drew, how are you? All right, well, welcome everybody. So this is something new, something we don't normally do, something I don't normally do. So if it looks a little rough, I apologize. It's kind of a foray into an area that I'm not particularly comfortable with, but we thought it would be kind of fun. A lot of you have told us that you'd like to see us do a little bit more engagement, so let this be the beginning. The 777 is getting close to being finished. It's actually in a very, very high state of readiness right now. We're real happy with it. A couple little things we're still trying to tie up just because there's some areas that we've been promising you that we would get tied up, and we want to get those done before this releases. So we're still working on some of those, handing them off to the testers and letting them tell us what they think. But it's close. It's very close. We thought that maybe doing a little bit of Q&A after the live stream would be good. We've been quiet for a couple of months now, and we thought that giving you a video sort of as an opener to FS Weekend would be a good way to do it. So Mateus is currently prepping for the show tomorrow. He'll be there all day tomorrow and Saturday. Those of you who live nearby or who are planning on attending, you can actually go and see the airplane live on a setup there. You can also take a look at the 737 and the DC-6 if you'd like. But obviously a lot of attention focused on the 777 right now. So that's what we're focused on today. The big question, there's really two questions that have been asked. Which one's it going to be? Well, the first one is going to be the 300ER. For those of you who are still growing your airplane nerddom, we call it the W because its air traffic control code is 77W. So you'll hear me refer to W. That's what I'm talking about. The L obviously being the LR. We shorthand the F into an F. So when you hear me talking about those, that's what I'm talking about. In the chat, obviously really busy. There's a whole bunch of you there. We're glad to have you. If you've got a question, just please preface it with all capital letters, question. It makes it easier for me to see. You can see I've got my glasses on here, and we're ready to go. So we'll do this for a couple of minutes. First question that has been asked a number of times is, when's it going to release? And the answer to that question is, we don't know. That is our standard response to that question because we don't plan release dates. We work on build schedules. So we go through, we look at a particular build, we go through and we check to see if it meets all of our expectations. And if it does, we'll then give it to the beta testers and say, hey, do you think it's ready? If they come back and tell us yes, then we take it to you and we tell you that we're about 2 weeks out, and then it will roll out. So we're somewhere more than 2 weeks right now, I can tell you that, but we're relatively close. I think that we are within 2 months, I would say, is a very firm thing, maybe a little bit closer. All right. Let's see here. SNS Flyer wants to know if there's any plans for a 777-300A in the future. Probably not. Not right now. So it's just it's not a very popular airplane with either the people that bought it or Simmers. So it's not something that's high on our agenda. Let me see here. Will it have RF legs? That's Final Light NL. And the expectation is yes, currently. One of the things that's holding it up actually is the testing of that process. So we're currently working through that and giving it a little bit more iteration in the testing process just to make sure that that gets finished, because that's something we've been talking about for 10 years now. And it's been frustrating. There's been all kinds of little things that pop up. It's an easy thing to say we're going to do something, and then you find out that there's the realities of keeping the lights on in a business, and we always seem to find things that kept stepping in the way of making the nav data transition that we needed to make in order to do that. So one of the promises we made to ourselves was that we were going to get that done with this product, and it will roll backwards into the NG as well. Short version is yes. We're currently expecting that to be in a day one release. Worst case scenario, it might get pushed off to the F release, which will be what comes after this one. But currently, I don't think that's going to happen. All right. Question: when am I going to fix my hair? Yeah, well, that welcome to the live stream. It's funny. I meant earlier to go down and get a brush, and I forgot to do it. So let's see here. Can we do that? All right. How's that for customer responsiveness? All right. Will we be able to open the cockpit door? LH Aviation wants to know. Yes, you will. We have you got sort of a little glimpse of it in the video, and if you go back and kind of scroll through, you'll see we have a very, very high detail cabin. It includes Jason's going to correct me here. It's either a three class or 4 class. I think it's 4. We went with a premium economy model in the VAR back of the airplane, and then a regular economy model. So those of you who like to sit in cramped space, you can go all the way to the back if you want. And then up front, obviously, you get progressively more personal space, galleys, labs, all that kind of stuff. And then the cockpit door will open. Obviously, just because we believe in protecting security, we're not really giving you a good model of the door locking mechanism and that sort of stuff. But if you tap on it, it'll open, and you can walk through and that sort of stuff. All right, let me see here. What about the 737 MAX? Anything new about the MAX? Yes, the MAX is very far along. We're not showing it to you right now. We're doing that intentionally. The MAX and the triple are both high on the development agenda. And when we drop the MAX will kind of depend on how we're feeling about things. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with development, and we, for a long time, we weren't sure which one was going to come first, the MAX or the triple. And frankly, on the development team, we were all a little bit bored of working on 737s. We had been doing that for a couple of years, so it was nice to shift gear into the 777. And the way we've broken our products apart to give you the 777 in individual pieces and the NG in individual pieces also allows us the freedom to move back and forth between them. So the MAX is well along, and we've been saying for some time we think that the MAX will get slipstreamed right in the middle of the triple release cycle. So products in the 777 release cycle will be the 300ER, the 200ER, the 200LR, and the F. Each of those will be an individual product line. Somewhere in the middle there, we'll probably drop the first of the MAXes in there. We are working on some data issues with that airplane with the manufacturer, but again, be another great product. It's been really nice for all of us to get away from working on 737s. Some of the team is still working on it, but we kind of bounce back and forth. So let me see here. Price or Aviation Productions wants to know a question for price range on the 777. It'll be in line with where the 73s are. Those of you who have been with us for many years will know that the whole simming community was sort of really dealing with price inflation issues. We were up to the point where we were giving you a base package that you had to buy, and that was starting to run around $150. And then in order to get other expansions, you would get there would be slightly less price. And, we are a for-profit company, so we would tend to give you the ones you really wanted a little bit later in the development cycle, just because that worked out better. But with the switch to Microsoft Flight Simulator, what we really wanted to do was take advantage of the opportunity to break the pricing model apart. So with the 777, for example, if you're really a cargo hauler, you like to be a freight dog, you can just hang out and wait. And when the 777F releases, you can just buy that one. So that's our way of trying to give you the opportunity to only spend the money you want to spend on only the airplane you want to spend it on. So sometimes you wind up waiting a little bit, but I think in the end that works out pretty well. But as for pricing, you're going to see it be fairly similar to what we've done with the 737. Let's just be honest, the pricing does reflect the popularity of the airplane a little bit. So we try to pick the one that's least popular and push the price down on that one to give an entry point for people who are a little bit more price sensitive that may still want to try out a PMDG product. So for example, with the 736, we push that price point down, and it's given an entry point to a lot of simmers who might have been a little bit afraid to try our products. And we're looking at finding one of the triples in there to do that with as well. So you can look forward to that. All right. Tom Berry wants to know, will the UFT we saw be switched over to the 737 Fleet 2 in terms of the new layout? Yes. The development for the UFT was driven primarily on the 737. When we reached the point of beta testing on the 777, we moved all the development to the triple simply because that unifies our beta testing effort. So we're not handing a beta of the 777 and a beta of the 737 to our beta team and then expecting them to manage all of that. So instead, we moved all the development into the 777 so that we're just giving one airplane to our beta testers, and it allows them to focus on that. So there's been a lot of changes, a lot of new adaptations. There's a whole bunch of neat stuff in the going on in the UFT right now. My personal favorite is that I can get in there and work with changing brakes and tires and things like that, and I can do it right through the tablet that's sitting right next to me rather than plunking through menus in the FMS. The tablet team has really done a marvelous job of starting to tie that more tightly into all of the features that we've offered in our products for a really, really long time. Failures and maintenance support and things like that, and ground operations and things of that nature. So with the 777 release, you'll see that taking place inside the tablet there, and then that will get morphed back into the 737. So I don't know if the microphone's picking it up, but our puppy is barking his full head off right now, so I apologize for that in the background. But I'm a dog person, and just a little bit ago, the two of them were asleep on the floor, and as soon as we went live, he grabbed the loudest toy he had. So my wife, the lovely Dr. Randazzo, hustled the two of them out. So he wants to come back up here. Let's see here. Arizona Aviator wants to know about taxi cams and whether they will be included. Unfortunately, at this point, the taxi cams are going to be marked as deferred, which, according to the tech log on the airplane, you can do. And the reason for that is that there really is no provision for an independent point-in-space camera within Microsoft Flight Simulator. So it's something we've flagged for the platform developer to see if they could give us some access to something that would do it. It's not something that we're expecting to take place in Flight Simulator 2020. Hopefully in 2024. We haven't gotten a look at that yet, so we'll see. But if that does get made available, it's something that we can plug in there fairly easily. So at least initially, those will be deferred, which is kind of a shame. It's a cool feature, something that we were very proud of getting done correctly and prepared. But anyway, it's just something we'll have to live without for a while. All right. Let me see here. HP Nomad wants to know, what are we going to do to compete with Phoenix? That's kind of a silly question that we get a lot. I think people really want to believe that there's some deep, dark backroom battle going on of, the forces of good and evil and all that other garbage between companies like PMDG and developers like Phoenix or anybody else. And, it's always kind of disappointing when I tell people there really isn't. We have a pretty good relationship with other developers in the community. We like other developers in the community. There's a lot of information sharing that goes on in the background. So we don't really view them as competitive. We're all sort of sharing ideas and looking at what each other are doing in terms of trying to raise the tide for all boats. So good on them. We're just as happy to see their success as our own, and the same goes for other developers we work with in the community. So let's see here. Don Len says, just to make sure we release a good solid product. Yeah, we originally, good to go back to the discussion of release date. We talk a little bit about why we don't really, we don't go into a calendar and tell you, hey, we think we're going to release this year, until we are really sure that we're going to release it there. And the reason why is that there's so much that goes on in software development that's a little unpredictable. Little things become big things. And, for example, I was working on something, yesterday that was supposed to be simple. I thought it would take me an hour. And then something in what I was doing caused the sim to decide to eat itself. And that turned into 12 hours of trying to get the sim to uneat itself so I could keep working. These things happen in development, and they happen with enough regularity that we just kind of don't get into publishing release dates. But with the 777, we sit down, we map out, we've got a Gantt chart that kind of shows who's going to be working on what and where the max is and how that will flow into other projects that we're working on. But we had took a step back on the 777. With the 737, we were still really feeling our way through Microsoft Flight Simulator and how to develop for it. And there are some things that we left out of the initial release in the 737s that then took a lot longer to get developed than we thought. And I think that was frustrating. I know it was frustrating for us. I think it was frustrating for a lot of our customers also. And we certainly saw that in our customers voicing frustration about the length of time it would take to get the universal flight tablet out and things of that nature. So with this, we made a list of things that we were just going to consider no-goes, and if we didn't have them done, we weren't going to release the product. And we've gotten that list whittled down. We're down to 3 of them. There's 3 things that we want to get connected and fully tested and working before we hand it to you, because we think it's really important that with this product of all products, we hand it to you in a form where it makes no excuses. And there's nothing that we're saying, oh, well, geez, gosh, we'll get back to you in 6 months for that. So this product has been held in development a lot longer than we thought it would. But that was a design decision we made because you guys put your confidence in us to get it right. And you gave us a lot of leeway with the 737 as we were sort of figuring out how to make things work. So with all the lessons that we learned there, we were able to put something together that we're really happy with. We're very proud of, and we want you to be happy with the decision making that we have engaged in to make sure that this is a good, solid finished product before we hand it to you. Let's see here. Darkish Coffee wants to know if it's going to take us about a year to get through all of them. I don't think so. We're fairly far along in all of them. They're actually sort of stacking up behind the W because we're holding on to it to get all these pieces finished. So I don't think it's going to take that long. Besides, I need to start moving developers off of this and onto something else, which is next in line. So we're the manager in me conflicts sometimes with the developer in me. So the developer in me wants to just give the team all the time they need to do everything they want to do, and then the manager in me, who has to actually keep the lights on and keep salaries going, that side of my personality wants to just drive the schedule. So there's a balance in there. Ellie wants to know what maxes are being made. Well, I'm not going to say. So we have a plan for that. I think if you look at what we've done elsewhere with other airplanes, you'll discover, I think you already know the answer to that question. Let's see here. Devil Badger wants to know, is there cabin announcements in CPDLC? I can tell you there won't be cabin announcements in the initial release. One of our beta testers has really been banging down the door to try to get us to do that. And we've got some ideas for how we want to do it, but it's not going to be in the initial release. It might be something that we do a little bit later. CPDLC, yes, that is in the airplane. It's not currently functioning, but it should be at release. At least that's the expectation right now. The CPDLC implementation is about to roll into testing. It will connect to Hoppy initially, which is, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Hoppy is a wonderful, wonderful tool for the community, and there is nothing better to use. As somebody who actually uses CPDLC in the real world, it does frustrate me a little bit because it doesn't function the way CPDLC actually works, and I think that's something that the sim community, some in the sim community know that, and some don't. So anyway, so the airplane will have the ability to connect to the Hoppy network to give you data link capability, and then we've got some ideas for how we want to bring something to you that will actually simulate what data link really does for a flight crew, and that'll be something we're kind of dragging out of the global flight operations product that got put on ice as we transitioned to Microsoft Flight Simulator. All right, let's see here. Andrew B says, I've used your products, and wow, that's scrolling fast. Let's see here. He says, would love to see a 777 and a 727 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Well, yeah, I'm a three-hole guy. I've been flying three-holers for a while. I love three-engine airplanes. And actually, if you look over, wrong way, over there, there's my 727. So I've had that airplane model since high school. But yeah, love the 727. Gosh, I would love nothing more than to be able to just sort of pull part of the development team off and work on a 727. So we'll see. Cooper Rush is wondering what the heck a three-hole guy is. Well, if you look at a 727, you'll see that it's got 3 engine inlets on it. So those of us who fly airplanes that have 3 engines, we refer to the Three-Holer Pilots Association. So that's what we are. Let me see, there's another one over there. That's a lot harder to do than it looks like it should be. You see guys like Ward Carroll and stuff do that, and you think it's easy. It's really not. Anyway. Let me see here. Christoph, by the way, wants to know, what about the 777X? We're having a conversation with Boeing about that right now. Goat. There's a guy with the name Goat, and I'm not going to say what the rest of his user tag is because the lovely Dr. Randazzo is sitting here with me. So anyway, he wants to know if we're going to be able to do load management and that sort of thing via the UFT. The long version answer to that question is yes, that is coming. And I'm going to profess ignorance. I'm actually not sure it's working currently, but the UFT will do that for all of our airplanes at some point. Let me see here. Kami Topper wants to know if we can reuse models and textures and stuff from previous versions, and the answer is no. There's sort of like a long-running joke where people just sort of throw stuff at the wall, saying, they're just going to drag something in from prepared. And anybody who says that really doesn't know how these things work. Development is a heck of a lot more complicated than that. Microsoft Flight Simulator is an absolutely magnificent platform, and you really got to build the models from the ground up. And so we've done that. Let's see here. Man, you guys are busy. All right, so Pede Mother wants to know, is it just Hoppy CPDLC or also Hoppy free text? And the answer to that question is yes, both. Will you see RAS in the 777? Probably not. There's a bunch of licensing issues we've run into with that, so we're not likely to do that. Shane Badal wants to know engine variants. Well, the the wonderful thing about the 300 ER is it only has one, so that's the one you're going to get. So let me rephrase that in a more customer focused way. You're going to get all the engine variants for the 300 ER. How's that? All right. Let's see here. Fabio wants to know, will it have good GSX integration? The short version is, I think, yes. We've been making a push to try and do that. I got to be honest with you, I don't use GSX, so I'm not entirely certain when someone asks that question exactly what they're asking for. But we've got a couple of developers on the team that do use it, and there's a couple of things that they're asking for us to change to make that work a little bit more tightly. So final flight NL, I've already answered one question from you. But you wanted to know what was the toughest part of doing the 777. The toughest part of working on the 777 really has been the flight model. So there are things, we always wind up in this little balancing act of things that the sim does well and things the sim doesn't do well. For example, there are some settings that we need to use in order to damp down the airplane's pitchiness or pitch sensitivity and yaw sensitivity. And when you start to tinker with those, they have this magical effect on the airplane's ability to turn while it's on its wheels on the ground, which, as somebody who drives an airplane in the real world, that doesn't make much sense to me. But in the sim, those two things conflict. So we wind up spending an awful lot of time in trying to balance all that stuff. Getting the airplane, the atmosphere in Microsoft Flight Simulator it's not perfect. It's damn good, but it ain't perfect. And so simply taking all the performance parameters from a performance manual and plugging them into the sim doesn't work. It takes an awful lot of skill. We've got a PhD scientist who tunes that flight model so that everything from control responsiveness to the airplane's response to disturbances in its inertia, all those things get balanced out properly. So that stuff is really, really hard. I spend a tremendous amount of time hand flying the thing and then giving feedback to Dr. Faust so that we can try to get this whole thing dialed in together. And this is where his background as a scientist and my background as a pilot really kind of mesh well, and we're able to put that together. But it is extremely difficult work. It takes a very long time, and that would be the most challenging part. Now, I've answered that question from my point of view. If you were to ask that same question to one of the modeling guys, he would have an answer that focuses on modeling. If you were to ask that question to the sound guy, he'd have a question, or he'd have an answer that focuses on that. So anyway, there's lots of challenging parts, but in the end, we make it work. All right, let's see here. Sinan wants to know, what about the classic 7.3? Perhaps it comes up every now and then, but there's always a question of popularity. We are on the PMDG team as a whole, we are extremely interested in finding something new to work on. We've been caught in this cycle, and part of it is because we have many product lines. So we find that as new platforms come out, our customers really want us to wrap our arms around all of our existing catalog and drag it forward into the new platform. And we want to do it as well, because with a new platform like Microsoft Flight Simulator, suddenly we can do things a lot better than we could do them in prepared. So we want to do that for the NG and the triple and the 7.4 and the DC-6. But one of the things that's happened is we haven't been able to add another new airplane to the stable. So that is coming. But would that new airplane be a classic 737? I can tell you right now it won't be, because we already know what the new airplane is. So there's that. Let me see here. Somebody asked if I would be flying it on VATSIM on release night. I won't be. Let's do a little moment of honesty, shall we? The last time I flew on VATSIM was probably 1997, and I was using a 747 SP model, and a VATSIM controller vectored me into a mountain somewhere west of Denver. That ended my VATSIM career. And when I queried the VATSIM controller about it, and this was a long time ago, he told me I needed to learn some things about flying before I flew on VATSIM again. Actually, it might have been later than 97. Anyway, at the time I was an airline captain, so he was probably right. I had a lot to learn. But VATSIM's come a long way. I've got a lot of friends that are controllers, but I live in fear of the fact that I might screw up on VATSIM, and because I make a big deal out of the fact that I fly for a living, and that I fly professionally, that that would be some fodder, right? So stick to what you're good at. I'm better at flying in the real world. All right. Let me see here. Alan Perez wants to know if we'll do a 787. Maybe someday. We have a new airplane identified, and 787 certainly fits into the discussion. That would certainly fit neatly into our bailiwick. Let's see here. Jet Delta wants to know if the Flyby Wire trim system of the 777 will work. Well, yeah, the whole airplane is flown by trim, essentially. I'm oversimplifying that, but yes, the whole Flyby Wire system is simulated. Let me see here. Evan Blakeman wants to know, does the gear tilt work? Yes, the gear tilt works. And Evan, I'm going to assume that you and I know more about the gear tilt than the average 777 observer. So let me talk about that for a moment. On the W, which is the first one that's coming, that landing gear is cantilevered, which means that it has a locking strut that holds that gear from being able to pivot on rotation. And essentially what it does is it causes the airplane to sort of rock up on its heels on those rear wheels. And in doing so, the airplane gains I think it's 9.5 inches of additional clearance underneath the tail skid, which allows the airplane to have just slightly more pitch on rotation, which means greater lift, which means the airplane can get off the runway more quickly, which means shorter balanced field length, which means greater utility for the airline. That's why they put the energy into that. Our 777 has that. Our 777 has had that for 12 years, but it does have that in Microsoft Flight Simulator as well. Also, the gear does have it's actively actuated prior to rotation. So if you watch, if you go and Airline Videos Live, one of my favorite things to have on the TV here in the office while I'm working. If you watch a 777 on their live stream, you'll notice that the gear truck tends to articulate right before the gear start to come up, and that's in order to get the gear in position so that they can fold neatly up into the belly of the airplane. If you go into alternate gear mode, which you can do on our 777, you go into alternate gear mode, you lose all the hydraulic pressure to that, so that truck does not articulate. So there's a whole bunch of nerdiness that we built into there. But long answer to a short question, yes. Let's see here. Caleb wants to know when the 737 MAX releases. Caleb, when this is over, go back and scroll back to the beginning. We covered that earlier. Let me see here. Sauce wants to know if it will have a heads up display option. That floats up into conversations that we have. My knowledge of that is that the 777 is only certificated to use the heads up if you have a very specific installation and you've got the STC from the company that designed it. So we don't have the data for it at this point, and it would probably cost us. I don't know. I can't even imagine what they charge for that STC. But I know FedEx uses them. I've got some friends at FedEx. Maybe it's something we do in the future. I don't know, but it's not currently in the airplane. All right. Question about will the wipers clear rain? We talk about that fairly regularly. The first airplane we developed active wipers in was back in 2009. And what we found was that it was it's kind of a miserable, it's a fiddly system. It winds up not working that well. We've looked at just doing a single layer overlay where there's either, it's either cleared or it's not. We talked to Asobo about that some time ago, and they told us that they have an active wiper system that's in development for the platform. So we opted to just wait until they do that, because the issue for us is we're a small company, and if we go and put 2 or 3 developers on implementing that on the airplane, it slows everything else down while we focus on that. And if by the time we finish it, I guarantee you the day we finish that would be the day that Asobo would roll that out into the platform, and the whole effort would be for waste. So so we keep our development focused on things that we know will be beneficial. All right. Let me see here. J2 Tango wants to know if PMDG will ever venture into the Airbus fleet. Hey, it's an airplane. We develop airplanes. Never say never. All right. Let's see here. Timothy Huxall wants to know when the weather radar will work. So this is always a favorite one. If you've ever worked with actual weather radar works. If you picture shooting an ice cream cone shaped beam of energy out in front of you, and then you can move it up and down, left and right, and point it around. It gives you sort of a single viewpoint of what you're looking at, and there's a real skill set to being able to do that manually. With modern radar, all of that's automated. It only shows you the things that it thinks you need to know based on data processing, which makes it wonderful. What we need in order to be able to give you real accurate weather radar is 3-dimensional precipitation definition within the simulator. It doesn't currently have that. So all the weather radars you find out there right now are basically just cloud detectors. They're giving you either a single layer, which is not realistic and not useful. Think of like the NexRad that you would get, on your phone. Something. Well, there's really nothing significant on my NexRad right now, but you just get this like top-down view. Not very useful. So could we turn that on? Maybe we have. So you'll have to get the 777 and take a look. But as for actual functioning weather radar, until we get 3-dimensionally defined weather data, that's not going to happen. All right. So let's see here. So we've been at this for almost 45 minutes. And if I actually wanted to go back and answer every question you guys have asked, this would probably take about 20 hours. Let's see here. So Captain Shaquille wants to know if the lovely Dr. Randazzo is a medical doctor. She is a psychologist who specializes she is a social psychologist. She specializes in the detection of deception. She has quite a background, and I love to brag about her. And I'm going to get the dagger eyes here in a moment. But she probably the world's preeminent expert in the prevention of targeted violence. So, if I get permission, I'll tell you more about her later. All right. Let's see here. Sweatio wants to know about automatic step climbs. Yep, that's in there as well. You really need that for long haul stuff. If you're like me and you like to get the airplane up to cruise and then go to bed, come back and land, which contrary to what some people will tell you I don't do in the real world, maybe. Yes, auto step climbs is there. So let's see here. All right, we're going to do 3 more questions and we're going to call it a night. One question: will you announce a new project at FS Weekend? The answer to that question is no, we will not. We've learned our lesson from telling you guys about things we were working on well before they were close to release, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why that turned into a bad idea. Market realities, competitive structure, things of that nature. So we're playing things close to the vest. We've got actually a whole bunch of stuff going on. Some of you may not have seen, as we've talked about it, that the team has actually expanded dramatically over the past 14 months. And there may be a little bit more expansion still to go. But the whole goal in the expansion was to expand what we're capable of doing, how much we're capable of doing. We were just finding that we were just getting very slow, and it was very hard for us to get things done in a time frame that seemed logical. So there's been a lot of expansion, which has fundamentally changed my job. I spend a lot more time managing the corporation and the team, but my heart's still in coding, so I still get to do a whole lot of that as well. All right. Somebody wants to know, with the advancements made on the 777, if there'll be a 737 version 2. There won't, with a little asterisk. There won't, because our development philosophy is that we will roll those changes backward into the NG so that you will actually see some of those improvements, and you already have. We made some discoveries on some memory management issues with the 777. Where TCAS was creating some problems. It was getting flooded with data targets and then causing the airplane to implode. We discovered that in the 777, and we immediately rolled it back into the 737. So, for example, that's an example of how that works. But development that we're doing in the flight tablet, for example, is going to be rolled back into the 737. And this is a free question, a free answer, because someone's going to wonder about this. When will that happen? It'll happen after the W releases. Right now, we've got the whole team really zeroed in on getting the W wrapped up. So then we'll start rolling that stuff back into the 737. All right, last question for the evening, and we're going to call it a night, or for some of you, morning or afternoon, wherever you happen to be. But all right, let me see here. I want to find a good one. A whole lot of questions about the EFB. You guys are busy. All right, so so some of these questions are hilarious. All right, let's see here. Oh, there we go. All right, there's one that we want to answer. I didn't see your name, and it's already scrolled by. But one of you asked, when will the tablet be available in the 737 on Xbox? And the answer to that question is any day now. We have uploaded the changes to Microsoft Marketplace. So it's going through intake at Microsoft right now. So as soon as they get it through intake, they'll push it out and you'll see it as an update. It's taken some time to kind of work through some blockers that we ran into. Theoretically, Microsoft Flight Simulator on the PC and on the Xbox are the same. We're finding that might be true for the software, but the hardware creates some difficulties. So we had a lot of problems with keyboard data entry. So if you want to use the tablet on the Xbox, you will need to have a physical keyboard attached to that Xbox, whether it's Bluetooth or plug-in connection, depending on your hardware. But you will need to have an actual keyboard. But if you do, you'll have full access to everything inside the tablet, and you'll be off and running. All right, we're going to call it a night. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on. This was a sort of an experiment. I hope you think it was a success. We tend to push information out to you via our forum. Yes, I am the guy that writes all the big long things that get posted to the top of the forum. And a lot of you have asked if we would kind of, step out from behind that forum a little bit to get to engage with you more directly. So this is an effort to do that. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, let us know. Maybe we'll do it again here real soon. We're going to be pushing a bunch of little videos out. I've got an idea for some shorts that we want to do, leveraging YouTube a little bit, just to kind of show you some little bite-sized bits, like 20, 30 seconds at a time of some cool things on the 777. So be watching for those. For those of you who are going to FS Weekend, have a good time. When you get there, tell Mateus that since he wasn't here to tell us we couldn't do this, we did it anyway, and we had a good time doing it. All right, everybody, thank you very much. Have a very good night. Have a very good weekend. The 777W is on its way, and you'll have it soon enough, I promise. All right, have a good night.